Oh no. Oh no. Are we on 22 this week?
Yeah.
Okay, so this week we're going to pick up on vaYiqra, which is Leviticus for the uninitiated. Chapter 25, we'll be picking up with verse 22. I've taught on this holiday 3 times now, so I just really didn't want to teach on it again today. If that's okay with you, I'd like to get back to the law here. We're going to back up to 21. That's my custom. So it kind of helps us to ease our way into what we're going to study today. So my translation of 21, but I will command my blessing. This is God Almighty talking. I will command my blessing for you in the 6th year and cause 3 years worth of crops to grow. I read some commentary, and I do think it was, I almost said the wrong guy's name. The Drazen and Wagner, I think, may have been the ones that said it. Don't hold me to it. I apologize to you guys if you didn't say it. But somebody said that there was no proof that Israel ever did this, that they ever had the 7-year rest of the land, and that 3 years worth of crops came. Wow. Wow. You really think that these people who crossed a sea on dry land, watched the most powerful military in the world drown in that sea with their supreme commander? He did not go back to the palace and get browbeat like his wife, the way they show it in the movie called The 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston. No, Pharaoh drowned in that sea with them. They saw all of that. They spent 40 years in the wilderness watching a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night with a big old stone rolling around, following them everywhere they went, providing them with water, food falling from the sky. They were given an entire nation full of houses they did not have to build, full of fig trees and you name it, that they did not have to plant. And you think they didn't do this? But they did all the other stuff, right? Anyway, and again, if it wasn't you guys, Drazina Wagner, I do apologize. But my memory is that's where I read it. But I read a lot of stuff, so who knows? So what God's saying here, of course, is you're going to get 3 years worth of crops every 6th year. And that's going to last, that's 3 years worth of crops. Think about it. You're only resting for 1 year. On the 2nd year, you're going to plow that land and plant again. That's an awful lot of abundance, if you ask me. Just throwing that out there. All right, so let's get started with our verse today, verse 22. The real literal English is, and seed them that year, the 8th, and eat them from the crop old to that year, the 9th. To come crop you shall eat they old. Now, after what I just said, that might actually made sense to you, right? You've been listening to me a long time if those sentences start making sense. But zetem, so the zetem being seeds. And the word actually means to scatter, but we say seeds because you're scattering seeds. But it actually means to scatter, to disperse, to sprinkle something, if you will. That's how I learned to plant seeds. We actually scattered them. We didn't poke little holes and drop stuff in them. I've seen a lot of people do that. Holy cow, that's a lot of work. But anyway, you plow the field and you scatter the stuff out, and then nothing would grow maybe there was another step we just didn't know about. We were not good farmers. All right, this is et, which is just an arrow. It's pointing to something. So those seeds are obviously going to connect to something. Ha, shana. I have sana. But I thought, no, the English says year, so I checked the Hebrew just in case. Shana, that's year. So you're going to scatter in that year, if you will, ha sheminit, the 8th year. So you're going to scatter those seeds in the 8th year. Va'achaltem is from achal, that's to eat, to devour. It's really the image behind that. Think of a dog that's really hungry and you've just given him his favorite food and the food is flying out of his mouth. That's really kind of the image here. This is to devour your food, right? So, and you're going to eat them. It ends with them. So the people who follow these instructions, they are the them. They're going to eat this food. They're going to consume it. And it says mean, the word mean, which means from ha tevua, from the crop. Wait, what do you mean, God? You just told us they can't plant a crop that year. Well, maybe it's not the crop from that year. I'm just saying. Yashan, the old crop. The old crop. What's the old crop? The triple crop from the 6th year. That's the old crop. Just in case you didn't know that already. This is ad, which is the Hebrew word for until. Until Hashanah, until the year Ha-Teshit, until the 9th year. So you're only not planting for 1 year. You're only going to miss 1 year's worth of planting, but you're going to get 3 years worth of food out of that. And on top of that, you're going to get that extra. I mean, the year following the rest year, that's icing on the cake. That's extra. You know what I'm talking about? Because you get 3 years worth. You've only used at most 1 year's worth. You've planted another year's worth. And that following year, you have 3 years worth. I'd almost be willing to bet that by the time you get around to the next Sabbath of the land, you're just now running out of some of that stuff you got in the 3rd year. Of course, you know how to make it last. I mean, you're talking about your abundance would almost have to grow with every generation. The overage would just almost have to grow with every generation. God's, you wonder why they call it the land of milk and honey when there's no milk and honey actually flowing in the streets? That was an idiom, by the way. They weren't supposed to expect milk and honey to be flowing down the road. So anyway, that happens in the 9th year, of course. Then it says ad, which is until. Then it says the word bo, which is to come, which is also to go. It's to leave, which is also to arrive. You only have that one word for all of that, right? You remember that about that word? So something's obviously going to come your way. And with what they added to the word, it makes it heat. Was it heat pa'el or heat fill, which means bring. So it's not just to come or arrive. This is you bringing something, or someone bringing you. Could be either way. Then it says tebu ata, the crop. I'm going to bring the crop. Tochlu, you shall eat. You're going to eat. You're going to devour like a wild animal. No, God's not telling you to act that way. I promise you that. Yashan, the old. So he's said the same thing twice, right? He's telling you, he's trying to get you to get this idea of this sheer abundance. You, at the end of the crop that you do plant, after the year of the rest, you still have 3 years worth of crops. You follow what I'm saying? I'm in anyway. I hope you're getting that. And so it has to be said twice in Hebrew because they didn't have exclamation points. Anyway, you will sow in the 8th year and eat from the old, triple yield from the 6th year, from the old crop until the 9th year, until the new crop that, of course, that you're going to plant in the 8th year comes up. You will eat the old, you will devour the old crop, the one from the year 6. You just, the idea here is of abundance. You're supposed to understand that you're going to have more food than you're going to know what to do with. You know what that gives God's people the ability to do? To feed the poor. Yeah. And the priests and all of that sort of thing. Even though the priests actually did plant their own fields, although not all of them could have, but you know what I'm saying. There's an abundance. There's a lot there that you can share. God is going to give you the opportunity and ability to be quite generous with probably the most important product on planet Earth, next to water, I would suppose. All right, so our next verse, and again, this is very literal. And the land not shall sold to permanently, for to me the land for foreigner and dwellers, you with me. I love this verse. So it's v'ha'aretz. So aretz, that's the word for land, that is so often translated as earth, which it almost never should be. There are times when it's okay, mostly not. This is land. So, and the land of Israel, of course, that's where they're going. That's the land that they're being given. So, of the land of Israel, he doesn't have to actually say Israel for us to know what he's talking about. So, of the land, lo. So you're not going to do something. Ti machir or cher. You will not sell it. Wait a minute, it already talked about selling it. Li zemitut. You will not sell it permanently. How's that work? Sell is not a good word. It's the English word that you're going to get in your dictionaries, your lexicons. It's always going to turn around and give you that word, and it is wrong. It's lease. And then God's telling you, you don't even do that permanently. You cannot sell something not permanently. Yeah. You follow, if you sell it, that all sales are final here. You know what I'm saying? Because if you sell land, I'm assuming you're getting something for that land, and you're not going to be expected to give it back just because somebody wants it back, right? So they use the word sell because you would have to actually buy it back, if you will, at least up until the Jubilee. Anyway, so it's ki li haaretz. So that's for to me the land. For to me the land. What is God saying to us here? Then it says ki garim. And that's for, we have dwellers, sojourners, a temporary visitor, a stranger, a foreigner. Man, this can be anything. Maybe it's a 70s rock group called Foreigner. One of my favorite all-time bands, I'm just saying. Let me get this piece of paper. I forgot I needed this. Okay. Yeah, this word ger, or gerim, it's in plural, but it's ger. That means dwell. It does not mean sojourner. It does not mean stranger. It does not mean foreigner. It means none of those things. It means dweller. Strangers, sojourners, and foreigners can dwell just like you can. Everybody dwells somewhere, right? And so when it's used of a stranger or a foreigner, it it doesn't change the meaning of the word. It's just saying that a stranger or a foreigner was dwelling, right? So this is this idea of trying to make this word into foreign or something like that. Don't do that. It's to dwell. Let's see where that goes. Vetoshavim. Now, oh, what's that? Toshav. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's foreigner. Yep. Hmm. My favorite rock group. At least when the other guy was the lead singer. I mean, that guy that's trying to sound like the other guy does a pretty good job, but I like the original myself. Anyway, this is an immigrant. Somebody that's just passing through will still have to dwell there for a while. You know, well, I mean, if he's just passing through and doesn't stop, that's one thing. But because you could actually do that, you could pass through from one side of the land of Israel to the other in on a bicycle in what, 15 minutes? Not from top to bottom, but from side to side, you could do that theoretically. There might be some obstacles in your way, but you know, I'm just saying it's not very big. So most often, because it's not likely that you're going to be walking across that big waterway that's on the other side of Israel. I'm gonna walk across that and then walk across Israel, going where? So someone coming through Israel is probably going to come from the north, and they're headed down south and maybe going to cut across the waterway to head to Egypt. It could be not quicker, but safer way to do it while the Jews are running the place anyway. There's a lot of reasons why somebody might be passing through. Well, they're going to have to dwell there for a while. Maybe they're going to come down there with their goods and set up for the summer or winter or whatever, depends on what your goods are, and sell at the little marketplace for a while. You know, so they're going to dwell there for a while. But they're foreigners. These are people who are not Yisraeli. They're not naturalized citizens. Let's put it that way. Now, keep in mind, nobody had a passport. There were no border walls or border fences. I mean, if you could get your castle fenced up, you were doing pretty good. You know, you were not going to have mile-long border walls and whatnot. So it's not that sort of thing. People cross back and forth and maybe don't even know they've crossed the border. If your border is at the edge of a river or an ocean or something like that, that's a pretty clear border. But even then, that shifts and moves, from erosion and that sort of thing. But anyway, this is just somebody who is essentially not a Jew, right? This is Adam, which is you, Imadi. Now, everywhere you look, all of the dictionaries, all of the other lexicons and whatnots and what have you are going to tell you that Imadi means with me, because im means with. What does D mean? Dalet Yod. Some of you actually know what that means. My point is, that's the word Amad. That is not the word im. There is no Dalet suffix in Hebrew, at least not in Bible Hebrew. I don't know about modern, but I don't think it exists there either. I've not run across it, though I do kind of try to stay away from the modern. So this is God saying, I stand. Well, they don't understand. Well, what does God mean by I stand? It is quite literally, like the movie that I referenced a while ago, that may not be the same movie. I think it may be the same actor, though. So let it be written, so let it be done. Is that the same movie? No, isn't that The King and I is the So Let It Be Written, So Let It Be Done, right? So it's the same actor, but it's a different movie. Anyway, here's my translation. And you shall not permanently sell the land because the land is mine. You know who said that, right? Not Robert Allen, not Bibi Netanyahu. God Almighty just said that. You cannot permanently sell this land because it belongs to me. You know, he made it, it's his. You know, if you want to make your own land, you just go right ahead. But before you try, just God wants you to know you got to get your own dirt. Anyway, so he said it's mine. Then he went on to say, for you are dwellers and toshavim. You are dwellers and foreigners, not with me. He said, I stand. This is what I have to say about it, and nobody's going to change it. That land belongs to God. This verse makes it quite clear that we can only lease the land that God has given us to manage. Because anything beyond that is just silly. God said otherwise. Even though verse 2 says, when you enter the land which I gave to you, right? If we get really literal here, now we've got a problem, right? But you do know Natan has a lot more to it than what we think of. It doesn't just mean to give. There's a lot more to it. It's of establishing. It's of turning someone over into someone else's authority. That's what's going on here. I gave it to you to manage. We know we were only given the land to manage because in this verse that we just read, and others, of course, God said the land is mine. And that makes it real clear that our gift is of management. The Hebrew word eretz can mean either ground, land, country, continent, earth. But like I said a while ago, it almost always is speaking of the land of Israel, where a lot of people really go off the rails with the Bible, is that this was a book written by the prophets of God concerning matters of the religion God gave to his people via them entering into a covenant with him. It is limited almost entirely to that, and rarely ever should be thought of as anything beyond that. But we want to make it about us. Oh, well, you know, I got a Bible, so I got to be part of that. Well, okay. You know, you can do like the Apostle Shaul said and you know, convert to Judaism like he said, like, you know, and the whole congregation will get all excited about it. Like what happened. Yeah. Look it up. It's in there. The Jews were converts. They were foreigners. They went from not having or following the Torah to converting, i.e., agreeing to follow it. That's what makes you in covenant with God. That is the covenant. God said it. The 10 Commandments, my covenant, the 10 Commandments. Type those words into Google and see what happens. I don't know. What's Google know about the Bible? Type it into one of your gospel word searches. It should tell you that God said that more than once. Anyway, the Jews had no homeland and were immigrants in the land of Yisrael because that land did and still does belong to God. So until mankind figures out how to make their own dirt out of the elements that they make. You can't use God's stuff. He didn't give you permission to use his stuff to make stuff for yourself, did he? Anyway, our next verse, 24. Not been watching my time. We're good. A little bit shorter. It's very literal. And in all land possession your right of redemption shall give they to land. So now he's going to tell you how you manage this land, right? So you have uvechol, so and in all, eretz, all the land. So is that all the earth? Oh, nobody would agree with that, would they? But if it helps us out, we're going to call it earth. But if it's not, we're going to call it land. Problem is, if you haven't learned Hebrew, you don't know how to apply the word. It makes it's clear to us who speak this language, but if you don't speak this language, how do you know how to apply it? I don't know, just asking. Then we have Ahuzah Techem. And again, that's how they would have said it back in the day. That's possession your. It's in your possession. It's not your possession in that you own it. God has already made that clear. It is the land that has been given to you to manage. And who's the you? Jews. Jews. And I'm not being anti-Christian here. If you stick with me long enough, I'll tell you how you can be a part of this. And maybe even already are and don't know it. You'd be surprised how many people are Torah observant and don't know it. Anywho, so you get the idea on the possession. It has been placed in your possession to tend to. Then it says geula, which is, well, that's a right of redemption. It really just means redemption. But that, everybody writes right of redemption. But this is redemption, of a field, because nobody is going to sell the whole country, right? These are going to be individuals, so you got to think of it more as they're selling their field. They're not selling it; they're leasing their field. You can lease your house. When Elimelech left with Naomi, I don't know that they were even planning on coming back. You really think their house is just going to sit there empty that whole time? No, they're going to lease the house too. And it is a lease. It's not a sale because of where they lived. We are going to eventually find out that if you sell a house inside a city, that could be permanent. But if you got some land, it don't work that way. So you're going to establish in Israel and in any place where if you've got Jews living together as a community, this better be part of your law if you're going to tell me that you're Torah observant. Because this isn't about this particular piece of dirt. There isn't a piece of dirt you can step on that doesn't belong to God. Amen. Just going to say that, just going to throw it out there for the fun of it. So it's your field, it's your land. And again, it could be your house. You can even rent out your talit if it'll get you a plug nickel, and that'll get you a cup of coffee, I guess. It's not limited to that sort of thing. This particular law is, but you can lease anything someone's willing to enter into a lease with you. That's not illegal. Then it says the word titnu, which is from the root nanu. Or maybe natan, I'm not sure. It's from the word natan, of course. Give. To give, to cause to receive, to give the hand. That's to admit defeat is really what that means. To deliver into the power of anyone. I was saying that a while ago. I'm reading this from the Gesenius, by the way. That's a really good lexicon. Way better as far as I'm concerned than the... I'm not going to name names. Anyway, to put over into the power of somebody else. So it can be said of, let's say, if you get arrested on some kind of felony charge and they pick you up in Texas and they hold you until the feds can come and get you, you are handed over into the not jurisdiction, but into the authority of the feds when they get there, right? This word means that. And it's when you talk about the land, that's you're there to tend to the land. What was the word I used for that? Oh man, all I'm hearing is crickets. I thought the students would say something. Manage. Yeah, that's good. I like that. I don't know if that's the word I used or not, but see, they tell me it is because they know I don't remember. Taking advantage of the rabbi. La aretz, to the land. So we have this word of there is redemption. It will be given to the land. So, okay, so they can take your house, but you can have the land. Maybe we should say redemption shall be given in your land. It might make more sense in English. You don't need to say it that way in Hebrew to have the same meaning. Just saying. Not in Bible Hebrew anyway. So here's my translation. And in all the land that belongs to the Jews, your possession that is in the management of the Jews. Let me put it that way. In all the land that is under Jewish management, there will be established the right for the Jewish people to buy back their family land. That's what because right of redemption, the geula, that is being used idiomatically to say the right for the Jewish people to buy back their land, to pay out their note, if you will. Throughout the land, it does not say of Yisrael. It just says throughout the land. Huh?
But it was Israel.
Well, it certainly belonged to Israel, but like I said, if you're living in a community of nothing but Jews, and there's communities like that in almost every state in America, you're supposed to be doing this redemption thing because that land that you're on belongs to God. It doesn't make any difference how much money you paid for it. Just saying, because you didn't get your own elements and make your own dirt, and your own planet, and your own sun, and your own, a lot of stuff you didn't do there. vaYiqra by Drazina Wagner says, the seller of the land or his relative had the right to redeem the land that he sold for at least 2 years after following the sale. They're attributing that to Rashi, and they say that Rashi based that on the Babylonian Talmud, Kiddushin 21a. Does that sound like what that verse said? No. The right of redemption extends to every square inch of the land God promised to Abraham. That is for sure. It makes no difference whether the Yehudim possess it or not. It still belongs to God, right? For that matter, it refers to any land that any observant Jew possesses. Why? I've already told you. You didn't get your own dirt. Man, paid so much money for that dirt, and I don't even own it. All right, we got, I don't keep thinking, oh my gosh, I haven't looked. We've got 5 seconds left. Okay, this is verse 25. For he grow poor kinsman you, and sold from, because think about what Rashi said. Where is that where Rashi said that? The seller of the land or his relative. had the right to redeem? Where did it say that? That it had to be a relative? Remember that? We did talk about that. No. If there's another observant Jew, that observant Jew can repurchase that. Do you think that any Beit Din, Knesset, Sanhedrin, whatever you want to call it, do you think any of them would say no if some Gentile guy wanted to buy back your land for you, sir? That's the first thing I would have asked Rashi. Anyway, for he grow poor kinsman you, and sold from possession he, and come redeem he that near to him, and redeem from sale or lease kinsman his. So of course it's ki yamuch. And so because he grows poor, we try to take this word and turn it into if. No. God's saying, yeah, it's going to happen. Because he's going to grow poor. He's going to not have the money to pay his bills. Achicha. Do you hear brother? Ach. You should hear brother. And they say kinsman, of course. Your kinsman. This is your brother. It's from ach, obviously. It's not from ach. It is ach. If you're going to change it from brother to your brother and make it plural, you're going to have to say ahi, ach, or hach. But that's still ach, any way you look at it. That's a brother. When used in a sense not quite strict. I don't know why we needed the word when, but just I need to put it there. Used in a sense not quite strict. Interesting way to say that. It is applied also to those who are not brothers, as those who are children of one father by a different mother, and vice versa, stepbrothers. The word brother is also of wider use amongst the Hebrews and is for, number one, any relative or kinsman, as they like to say in the olden days. Two, a man of the same tribe. So let's say a Levite became poor, so it's another Levite, right? They'll call them brothers. Three, one of the same people. Oh, wow. Let's take America and apply that, what a brother is. In America, you have whole entire groups of people who live together and nobody but their kind can live there. You have groups like that. At a time, it used to be a lot more of it. You used to have the area of New York where you had nothing but the Italians. And then you had nothing but the Jews over here, and who else? And you had the Irish over there, right? That used to be a really big thing at one point, not so much now, but you still have stuff like that. We live in Bastrop, Texas. We're 30 miles east of Weird, meaning we're 30 miles. We are east, yeah, east of Austin, Texas, and on the far side of Austin from where we live, there is an entire community of nothing but Jews. And then after they built their little community, then some Jew-hating Muslims built a community all the way around that so that they could be mean to the Jews. Yeah, that happened here. So you had two very different communities. Right, their border was the fence in somebody's backyard was the beginning of the other community. But, so you have things like that. So you can say, all right, well, one group of people, that's the Jews. The other group of people, that's the Italians, and so on and so forth. And we have everything. We have Muslims, and then we have Arabs who maybe aren't into the Muslim religion, so they're going to not call themselves Muslims, they're going to call themselves Arabs, or you have people who have come over here from Africa, and they all that I've heard of with them is they tend to identify with the tribe from which they came in Africa. You know, I haven't seen a group of people just call themselves Africans here in America. It may happen. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. What?
By country. Ghanaian community, that's Ethiopian community.
Oh, by the country in Africa. Give me some names again.
Ethiopia. Ghanaian, Nigerian.
What was the second one?
Ghanaian.
Ghanaian. Oh, I never heard of them.
Ghana.
Oh, Ghana. Okay.
Nigerian.
Nigerian. Yeah. So see, you got,
Congolese.
huh?
Congolese.
Condoleezza Rice apparently has one. That's not what she said, but kind of sounded like it. All right, so you get it. You've got all of these smaller groups, and then you have what about the group of the Fraternal Order of Police guys, right? And the same thing. You've got the group of the firefighter guys, and you've got the group of the doctor guys and the nurse guys, and by guys I mean guys and gals. I don't know what the correct word is to be both there. If you're both, well, not the trans thing, but if you're, I don't know what word they would use. Anyway, I'll skip that. I would have said it, but I don't know what the word is when you're wanting to talk to a group of men and women, you know, because men can be doctors, men can be nurses, and same with the whatever. Vice versa. What? I'm mumbling? Well, that's probably good as anything else I could do. So you got all kinds of small groups, and then you can be the cowboys. You can be, as in, you know, guys who actually ride a range and drive cattle and stuff. Yeah, we still have those. You can be American Indian, and that can break down into this different tribes of Indians. But then you can lump all of that together and call us all Americans too, right? So that group could be humongous. And that large group called Americans can all be called brothers. So your brothers can be literally from every piece of dirt on this planet. If they have migrated to this big piece of dirt, those are your brothers by this definition. Israel would have been no different. When they left, when the Moshe led a group of people out of Mitzrayim, that's in Egypt, they call it now. It was not called Egypt back in those days. He led this group of people out of there, and the Bible says that they were a mixed multitude, meaning that they came from everywhere. Does it mean they had Americans? No. It's a hyperbolic way of saying it, but it just means that of all of the people who were from that area, all of the slaves that were in Egypt, there were slaves from all of these different groups. You had very black slaves, because you know there was not a lot of mixing of the slaves throughout Egypt back then, but I guarantee you in Egypt, throughout Africa is what I meant to say. But throughout Egypt, I guarantee you there would have been a lot of the mixing. So you would have had a lot of the lighter skin black as well. You would have had the olive skin. You would have had Chinese people would have been there. There would have been a very wide variety of people that followed Moshe, the guy who wrote the first 5 books of your Bible. That guy led an audience like that of people out from that place. And what made them brothers was that they had all agreed to live according to God's law.
Wow.
So they were all brothers. And that's just trying to get you to fully understand what a brother is. Our next word was mahor. Well, they say sold. And again, this is not the right word. This is still a lease. You lease something out, when you first lease it, you're taking possession of it, and this is when you're ending a lease, right? Well, I don't know what word to give you other than sold, because I don't know what word you'd use for that. Maybe if we have a leasing agent in the group listening, send us a text message. I would like to know an English word for that. Our next word is me'ahuzato. It's from possession the thing that the Jews are managing. You remember that? It's not that they own it. It's that it has been handed over to their control. Uva, which is bow, because you remember that B sound is sometimes a V sound like victory, and other times it's a B sound like boy. It's the exact same letter. The meaning of the word does not change. The sound changes because of what you add to the front of the word, or maybe to the back of the word, or maybe to the middle of the word. Different things cause that sound to either harden or soften and go from the victory, from the V sound of victory or the B sound of boy. But so when I say uva, you might not recognize that that's and bow and come. Okay, so that's to come and to go and all of that kind of stuff. It's also written in He-Phil, or so we're told. I do not believe that, but we're told it is, so that means bring. Where's the He-Phil? You've added a vav to the front of the word. That's the conjunction. That does not change a word to He-Phil, or we're going to have to really rethink what we believe the Bible says. Anyway. But look it up. It'll tell you that word's in He-Phil for this verse. All right, so our next word, go alo. Believe it or not, that's the geula, redeem. But when you add the vav to the end of the word, that's the effect it has on this word. So this is the redeem. This is the it's not the purchasing. You have not sold your property in any way, shape, or form. You have leased your property. You have leased your house. And so if there are 5 years left on that lease, in order for you to end that lease, that 5 years has to be paid back. It still works that way to this day. Or at least it should, not always, but it should. That's the way it's supposed to work. Then we have ha-karov. So that's of nearness. It's used of place and vicinity. That is me going from very far away to coming very close to you. That's your word, to come near to something. Elav, to him. That's really all that means. Ve-ga'al, ga'al, same word, to redeem. So if there's a redeemer who's going to come near to redeem, which you probably have to do back in those days, it would really have been hard to use your debit card over the internet back then. So you probably have to come near to do it. And for that matter, if you got on the internet and you live in Texas and you redeem somebody's property in Jerusalem, well, that's how you come near. Et mi mekar. So obviously he's coming near to redeem this lease. It's not a sale, it's not a purchase, it's not a buyout, it's just a lease. Achiv. Ach, that's of his brother. I hate that kinsman comes up every time you look it up. It even comes up on my database, and I built it and filled it with the information. But at the time, I wasn't paying attention. I was just typing what I was reading. But so it's his brother. So here's my translation. If your if your brother, your Torah observant relative, there's got to be something that ties you together. In America, the Constitution ties us together. That's the Constitution makes us brothers. If we live according to the Constitution, we are brothers. Those who do not live according to the Constitution by biblical standards are not your brother. That's how it works. And so this is literally the Constitution for Yisrael and the Yisraeli people. You got me? So your brother, in this case, in Israel or any land that God happens to own, and all this comes together, that's your Torah observant brother. If that person, that Torah observant brother of yours, grows poor and has least of his ahuzah, his property, and a goal karuv, we call him near redeemer, your near brother. He has gone, from a long way to close to you, or perhaps it's saying your closest relative. I don't buy that. That's not what this says to me. This is saying that one of your brothers has come to tend to your need here. To me, that's all it says. And I think there's a word missing here. Okay. I'm in the wrong place. So if he grows poor and has least of his property, and the brother draws near to him to go to redeem, I've got this messed up, from the lease of his brother. So we're halfway through the sentence. This ends in a comma. We don't have the other half of the sentence. So it says, I'm running out of time. We better get through the other half of the sentence, right? Very literally, and man for naught he will be to he redeem, and able hand he, and attain as enough redeem it. We may not get through this. I don't know if I have enough time, but we'll try. Ve'ish, and a man, ki lo yiyeh, for not he will be, lo goel. So if a man doesn't have a redeemer, darn it, none of all of those people that could be his brothers, he doesn't have anybody who can come and pay off his bills. Maybe he does, but they don't want to. Yeah, there's no law says they have to. Then it says, Vehi Siga. But the same guy who has nobody who can pay his bills, but if he is able, if somehow that guy has managed to dig up enough money, yado, he's been able to get in his hands umatzah, and has attained kedei, enough what? Marshmallows, of course. Geulato, he's gained enough through his own power. He doesn't have anybody there to pay off his bills, but he's managed somehow to draw in enough money that he can now pay off his bills. Then it goes on to say, well, you can keep your lease. You don't have to give it back to him. Too bad for him. Oh, no, it don't say that, does it? So if your brother, going back to verse 25, if your brother, your Torah observant relative, has least of his property, and a near redeemer comes to redeem from his lease, for the brother, comma, and, or I should say, if a man has no redeemer. So we have this idea of, first off, okay, this guy has somebody, and maybe now, you know, what do you call those dot when you put dots in front of these categories? Point.
Yeah, I know. Trying to think of it.
No, let's not have a conversation here, please. And if a man has no redeemer, but is able to attain enough on his own and redeem it, you know, the part that he leased, Drauzine and Wagner draw, and again, comma, we still haven't made it to the end of the verse. The Torah grants the seller of a field the opportunity to redeem, that is, to repurchase the field, but he can only do so if he redeems all of it and cannot buy only part of it based on Bechor Shor and Haskuni, and they did all of that based on the Sifra. Nonsense. It's not what the text says. There are no verses in this chapter that actually say that the entire field must be repurchased. I'm guessing that the reason why it is believed by some that all of it had to be repurchased is based on the fact that the formula for repurchase is based on the entire amount. And so from that, they say, you know, we're Hellenized Jews who have no idea how God spoke through Moshe back then. So we're going to apply our Hellenized ideas to it. And oh, no, anyway. However, the biblical Hebrew is not literal. Western language, it has nothing to do with that. What happens if a person only wants to lease out half of his land? If he's going to buy it back, he has to buy all of it back? Anyway. Verse 27, I do not have enough time. This is the end of the verse. We'll skim through, of course, all of that at the beginning of our next law session and try to finish up this verse. Sorry, got to leave you hanging. You don't even know what's going to happen. Shalom, shalom, everyone.
The blessing, vaYiqra. Yevarecha Yahweh v'yish merecha. Ya'er Yahweh panai v'lecha v'hunecha. Yisa Yahweh panai v'lecha v'yasim lecha shalom. And in English, may Yahweh cause you to lie down so that you may rest. May he touch and caress you. May he prepare you for what is ahead. May he watch over you. May he keep you from harm. May he cause goodness to grow in you and take away the bad. May he arrange your life and cause you to flourish. May he cheer you up and gladden your heart. May he cause his light to shine through you. May he show you tenderness, favor, and love in his presence. May he show you kindness and be delicate towards you. May he show you his generosity, mercy, compassion, and desire for you as it comes forth from the depths of his soul. May he lift you out of your pit and deliver you from the things that hold you prisoner. May he draw you to his chest and cast his eyes on yours. May he show you his love and desire for you as he cradles you in his arms. May he bear your punishment and pardon you of your sin. May he take you for his bride. May he establish a foundation in you. May he place his name on your heart and mind and make your body his temple. May you be his treasure. May you always be on his mind. May he draw you near and comfort you when you are afraid. May he assure you there is nothing to fear because he is with you. May you and all that concerns you be at peace because he is your friend. Amen.